welcome to the Write Your Next Chapter podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea, and this is Vic.
Hey, I'm your other host, creator and founder of a movement of the collective consciousness designed to inspire, motivate, and shape the way we perceive our ability to manifest the next chapters of our lives.
And I'm just here for a little comedic relief.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to Sergio today, Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to get to know him a little bit. So how do you know him?
So I actually met Sergio about 5 years ago. I was interviewing him for a position. He came in really nervous, but told me a little bit about the work that he did in Central America and kind of want to dig a little bit deeper.
What do you think about his story is going to really resonate with people listening to our podcast?
Well, I think that's the cool thing is other people, I definitely know their story, and I don't know his entire story. So I'm excited to dig a little bit deeper and get to know him. But I do want to say happy birthday to you as well.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, let's give Sergio a call. Let's get to know him a little bit better.
Hello.
Hi, Chelsea. How's it going?
Good. Hi, Sergio. Nice to meet you, kind of. Or you.
Kind of, yeah.
We're both excited to kind of chat with you and get to know a little bit about you and maybe what's in store for the future. What are those big ambitions? And so what have you been up to?
I work for the guest relations department at Disney. And at Starbucks, I'm a core trainer, coffee master, and shift supervisor. So, yeah.
Wow.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's been a really interesting road getting up to where I'm at for both companies. It really, really has not been easy, but I'm really proud of how far I've come along.
Oh, you should be proud. I mean, that's a lot accomplished in a short time frame. Like, people dream of doing that stuff in years and years and years, and you did it in like 2. So.
Thank you. When people talk about me or think about me, they immediately just affiliate me with Starbucks and Disney, and I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's just the energy you bring. Like, your energy is way past the 100 level. So
thank you.
And I think everyone enjoys working with you, and I think that's the best part about it. But really, I mean, I would love to know a little bit about your story. I mean, every single person has a story. I have a story. Chelsea has a story. So, I mean, we would definitely love to hear a little bit about maybe, where you grew up. I did hear from a little birdie that you did some work in other countries, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Bell Gardens, California. The town is really shaping up now, but it wasn't when I was growing up. It was a very rough area. You past sundown, you did not want to go anywhere near any of the public parks, or you wanted to be careful where you were going. It definitely wasn't the best place to raise a child. But all my family, they all do missionary work, and I grew up in that kind of environment. So missionaries usually tend to go to the poor and dangerous areas to try to make a difference. And these were the kind of people I was raised by and surrounded myself with growing up. So it was only natural for me to follow the same path. When I turned 15, I started doing my volunteer work, missions work locally, mostly in Southern California. I would go up north to Northern California, head over to like Arizona, Vegas, just general, local areas. When I turned 18, I flew out to Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica for 6 months. After I went to Guatemala for a year and a half, then I went over to Honduras for 6 months, and then Mexico 6 months. In between there, I was traveling back and forth between El Salvador, Nicaragua, and just everywhere. My passport really just looks like a coloring book. All the stamps are all different shapes, sizes, and it was exciting for me. Anywhere from walking into a new customs area that I had never been in, getting the new visa, all of that, to figuring out on the road what was going to happen, what was going to be my plan, or because ahead of time they would usually tell me that you head over to this area, this is kind of what they need you to do, this is what they need from you. So strategizing what I was going to do to be able to maximize, my time, my effort, the church's assets, all of that. And I did that until I was 21, actually. That's when I stepped back from the missions field and just pretty much started working in the private sector. But prior to that, it was just a lot of going around from corner to corner of Southern California and just Central America.
Can I ask what the change was? What made you decide to kind of step away from that work?
Well, for me, it's very difficult to do. That's not a very easy profession. It's not for everybody. And at the time, I just felt like I really needed to discover myself. And when you're out in that particular type of field, you really don't have a lot of time for yourself or for reflection or anything like that. You really need to be passionate about the people that you're helping. And for some reason, I would take their problems or their concerns and make them my own and try to carry that load with them anywhere that I went. And I really needed time to rediscover myself. There was a lot of personal stuff going on in my life that I felt like I needed to address. I think one of the biggest conflicts that I had was my sexual orientation. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but I'm gay myself, and I was doing a lot of missions work with a non-denominational Christian church, and that really just created a conflict for me because I felt like I was failing everything that I had been taught and that I had been raised knowing, preaching, and practicing. And I was a Bible studies teacher, so I just felt like I was just not up to that level, and I needed to do something that didn't make me feel horrible. I wanted to make sure that I never really let go of the essence of who I was, that carrying your life with compassion, carrying your life with kindness, and just trying to be like a beacon of hope of some kind was what I was aiming for. I just felt that wasn't really my calling anymore. That's honestly one of the biggest issues that I faced, and some of the concerns that I faced trying to decide what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah, it must have been hard, walking out of that life of doing mission work and then obviously coming into a new being of who you are. Was it difficult, kind of transitioning? And I mean, I'm assuming you had no job. You were used to being supported by the mission projects and the mission community. Tell us a little bit about that. Was it hard coming into that type of life all of a sudden?
It was very rough, honestly. When I stepped back from the missions field, I didn't have anything, literally just a handful of clothes that I had. I didn't have a lot of money. I had about $300 in my pocket. I was doing independent studies in school because I needed to do my missions work. So I went into homeschooling when I was a sophomore, and I was about 3 months away from graduation when some problems occurred in Costa Rica, and the director of the church reached out to me and told me that Costa Rica really needed my help. I was faced with the decision of, do I stay and just finish my high school, get my high school diploma, and walk with my graduating class, or do I head over to the other country? And I went with my heart. I didn't really think logically. I just went with my heart. To me, it was more important to get to Central America as quick as possible to help out in any way that I could. And when I got back, it was already too late for just my regular high school diploma. It had been years. I was only supposed to be gone for about 3 months. I ended up being gone for almost 3 years, or a little bit more than that. And I came out into the world with no job prospects, no job lined up, $300 in my pocket, no high school diploma, nothing. I was able to find a couch that I could rent They charged me $200 a month, and and I paid my first $200 for that, and I had $100, and that's all I had left to my name when I got a job at Target, and that was very limited time. I um, I was only there for about 2 months, and then they laid me off. Then I was faced again with, I have nowhere to go. What do I do? I applied for general relief and food stamps, and thankfully was approved for that. But my general relief money was only $300, and it would all pretty much go to the couch that I was renting and the utilities that I was utilizing, my phone bill and all of that. I went to school to the Long Beach Job Corps, and I was going to school there when I met up with one of my counselors and let them know that I was really having a hard time. It had already been a few months that I had been without an income aside from the general relief money, and that was all going straight back into bills. And he told me that he had a friend that worked at Starbucks and asked me if I wanted to work there. It was so funny because me and that counselor bonded because he was Guatemalan, and because I had done missions work in Guatemala, we found a common ground, and we started geeking out about the food and about the coffee and the culture.
Always the food, always the food.
So, Guatemala has some of the best coffee I have ever had. I'm a really big fan. And Central American food, Central America in general won me over, and I'm Mexican myself, but I had like a real identity crisis because I'm like, I love everything they have here. What do I do? But it was so interesting because I didn't have a resume. I didn't have anything, and she somehow came up with a resume on my behalf. One day out of the blue, the manager that called me for the interview just popped out of nowhere. So when I went to my interview, I was really worried, and I really just wanted to get a job, and I wanted to move on with my life. I was going to school for a medical assistant, and I ended up making coffee and fell in love with it.
I definitely want to ask you a question, though, because so my question here is really, I think a lot of people struggle with the same thing that you went through, which is, you hit that low point where there's no money, the jobs prospects are not coming in. You kind of feel like you hit that low. What did that low feel like? And more importantly, like, did you ever struggle with that mindset or that concept of like, I gave so many years to the church and your belief was there, but yet you felt like, why am I in this low?
I did, to be very, very completely honest with you, and I wondered if I had even done the right thing by going into the missions field, and it was a really, really low point for me. But I grew up with struggles, and I had to realize that if I didn't solve my issues, nobody was going to do it for me, and that was the biggest thing. It took a moment of like self-pity and my self-pity parties, and I realized that if I didn't get up and do something, nobody was going to do it for me. As much as my family loves me or whatnot, they don't have extra money to give me. They're missionaries. Their income comes from the church and goes directly pretty much back into their missions field. And it really just took a lot of self-motivation, and it pains to say, but hunger is a very strong motivator. Fear of being homeless and all of that just really pushed me, and I questioned myself a lot, and I even had a slight grudge against my family because it was more along the lines of like, how did you not set me up for success? I had friends that I went to high school with that at my age already, their parents got them a car and they were living with their parents, but they were working part-time and going to school, whereas I had to hold down 2 jobs to try to keep my head above the water. And it definitely just really weighed on me a lot. But like I said, it took a lot of effort to stop beating myself up about it and stop trying to hold grudges against somebody else, and realizing really the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, sometimes we just got to let go of things that no longer serve us at that point in our life. And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's such a valuable lesson to so many people,
I mean, sometimes you wish things were a little more in your control and they're not. And that's just a part of life, I feel. that if you just keep thinking about the what if, or this could have happened or whatnot, or even thinking about, what happened behind you, you're going to get stuck there and you're going to become bitter. And I've seen that happen so much that people just can't let things go. And I understand. Honestly, I completely understand. It took a lot of effort. I come from a very, very strong-minded family. But my mom's a fighter. My mom right now, she got a knee replacement surgery. That's what we're dealing with right now. But this is the second knee. They already did the first one. My mom's gone through cancer and the whole chemotherapy and radiology and all of that. But that woman's a fighter. And I think that just, comes in my genes. My grandma before her was a fighter. She was a single mom in Mexico City raising 4 kids and now has her own business. And, all of her kids, have a profession. My mom, she was on her way to becoming, a lot of things, but decided to opt her heart out, to be in the missions field. And I think it's very admirable, and I think it's very respectable for someone that continuously builds and continues to grow on that faith. I know it's not for everybody, but that's the kind of genes that I have. I feel just the fighter gene, I guess.
I just really want to commend you for your like outlook through adversity. It's just really inspiring to hear you continue to pick yourself up, regardless of what's being thrown at you and the situations you've been in. I just think that's really inspiring that you continue to like say, I have to do this for myself and, keep doing this. I really want to commend you, 'cause that's not easy, especially for someone really young. And clearly you've mentioned like your mom and your grandma, and, it clearly is part of your DNA. It's hardwired into you, but that's just really inspiring to hear your outlook through all this.
Thank you. I appreciate it, honestly, and I really wouldn't be anywhere without a lot of people that somehow have come into my life and have made a big difference. And I think that all those things have really just pushed me and to keep moving forward. I try to maintain myself happy, and I try to do whatever I can to stay positive. I've surrounded myself with good people. I've surrounded myself, being able to notice and detect, I guess, what a toxic person in your life can be, and having enough strength to say, as much as you seem like you could be a great friend, you're not what I need in my life. Or even in relationships, realizing I was dating the wrong guy and realizing that's not going to work, and having enough strength to say, I really like you, but it's not going to work. And realizing, as selfish as it may seem, you got to take care of yourself first. I have to realize that I can't be who I am and wanting to help everybody else and trying to be, as giving as I can to everybody else if I'm not taking care of myself. If I don't take care of myself first, there's no possible way that I can help anybody else, I feel.
God, it's so powerful. I mean, it's such a strong message there. And I mean, I also commend you for having that courage to, deal with the mental side of coming out and your sexual orientation. And I think for you, you kind of had a double whammy there. I mean, people look at it, you were coming out of the missionary, the religious sector of it, and then dealing with your own sexual orientation. Did you find struggle with acceptance through either family or friends?
Oh my God, that's putting it lightly. My mom is not only old school Mexican, but also very, very religious. And like I said, I really, really have the highest respect for my mom, and commend her so much for being so strong in her faith, no matter what. I feel like I've had a difficult life, but it's been a fraction of what my mom has had to go through. And so no matter what, she still holds on to her faith. So me coming out was really not an easy thing for her, and it wasn't for me either. I officially came out when I was 17, but I lived kind of hidden within myself. It was something that just was never mentioned, and had it, sometimes in TV the LGBT community is represented, even if you're not trying to go like looking for it or you see a couple or anything like that. And it was a matter of flinching kind of thing to make sure that no one else caught it to avoid the awkward moment. Things like that. It was very difficult. It honestly, I'm 26. I came out when I was 17. It wasn't till last year that actually earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken, that my mom really just took a different look at it. And it took so much out of me. And I had already come to terms with, I'm never going to have my partner, my boyfriend, and my family together in the same room. That's not going to happen. That's not a reality. I had already come to terms with it. I was already making my peace with it and realizing if somebody wants to date me, they have to understand that this isn't happening. It was really hard. It wasn't until this year. I've been with my boyfriend about a year, and first of all, I didn't want to take just anybody home. I didn't want to start this process of being a little stronger in my own person with the wrong person, if that makes any kind of sense. I'm like, if I'm gonna have to go through this, I want it to be with the right person and for the right person. If not, I'll just keep ignoring what's going on. And I've been very blessed with the partner that I have. He's been nothing but loving and supporting from the very beginning. So I remember talking to my mom a little before her first surgery, which happened in January. It ended up turning into a very heated discussion where I brought out so much of me that I was resenting and letting her know, like, it's so sad and it's heartbreaking to know that my future boyfriend is not going to be in the same room with you, that he's never going to be invited to your house for a family dinner, that he's not going to be invited to Christmas. And it's heartbreaking because it's a part of who I am, and I have to split myself up for you and for him. And it spiraled into such a heated argument that to the likes that we had never had before. And it just kind of stayed that way until it was surgery day. And when my mom came out of the surgery room, she was really just like drugged out. My mom has epilepsy, and when you mix epilepsy with anesthetics, it really does not mix very well. I remember she was really drugged out, and she just was like, "I love you so much," and I'm like, I love you too. And I could see how emotional and how frustrated she was being. She was struggling with something, and I was like, "Mom, what's the matter?" She's like, "I want to meet your boyfriend." I was like, "You're drugged. We'll talk about this tomorrow." Like, I know you're on something right now. And I just let it go. Honestly, I told my boyfriend at night when I got home, and I was like, just a heads up, I don't know if she was being for real. If not, just so you're aware, and told him what happened. And the next day I show up with my orchid, and just we're getting ready to hang out in the hospital all day. And she's just like, "Where's your boyfriend?" I was like, "Oh, you were serious? Oh." 1 second, I'll be right back. And I rush out of the room, and I pick up my phone. I was like, "Get over here now. Like, she's serious. I don't know how long the magic is going to last. Run." He booked it out here, and it was so funny to get him prepared for it. I was paranoid about this first meeting. And I'm like, "She likes orchids. Go get one." He's like, "Do you want me to head over there now or go find an orchid?" I'm like, "Forget the orchid. Get here now." And then I go downstairs to meet him, and I'm like, "Okay, straighten up." And I'm like shuffling his shirt, and he's like, "Relax. It's it's going to be fine." I'm like, "You don't understand." And I'm like fixing his beard and fixing his hair. And he's like, "Okay, get your hands off of me. We're going to go inside. It's going to be fine." We go in, and then my mom was a little dramatic, I'll admit. She's like shaking her hand like she was dying, and I'm like, "Mom, you're not dying. You just had your knee fixed. It's a day after. You're fine." They started talking, and there's a bit of a language barrier, but they got along, and that was the first step. But it was a huge moment for me. And then the next time that they got together was, I was bringing her to an appointment, and I was like, "Mom, have you ever had Korean barbecue?" She's just like, "What?" I'm like, "You've never had it?" I was like, "That's perfect, because I love Korean barbecue, and so does he." I'm like, "Oh, this is so good." Because that's not something that my mom would normally go to. She would be like, no, I'll just make something at home, that kind of thing. And I was like, let's go. You're going to love it. Beef bulgogi, trust me, it's going to be your new favorite. And then we met up, and then I was just like, just so you know, I asked Alex to come along. I hope you're okay with that. She's all like, oh, I'm down. I was just like, oh, all right. And it was like a big deal for me because it was them together and my mom trying something new and then meeting up with him, and I was just like, that's amazing. And I mean, now at this point, she takes his side more than she takes mine, and I'm like, well, you know what, I can live with that. She every time we talk on the phone, she'll ask me how he's doing. He just left here now, and he's been meeting the rest of my family little by little, which honestly, it's such a relief because it's been almost 10 years since I came out of the closet, and it's one of the worst things that you can live through, I feel, having to hide who you are and not really be able to be yourself, honestly. And it's not like I walk around, shoving rainbow flags in people's faces. I really don't. I think everyone is entitled to their own belief and opinion, just the same that I don't think that the same way that I don't think my previous, adversities define me, I really don't think my sexuality defines me. I'm just a normal guy who happens to be in love with a man, and that's the way I've been trying to carry my life. And it's been a pretty bumpy road, honestly. But I'm so grateful, and I couldn't be happier with the way it's turning out little by little.
That story is like not only uplifting and inspirational, but I'm pretty sure it might even bring some people to tears.
I'm on the verge of tears of myself over here.
Hopefully tears of joy. Tears of joy.
Yeah. You don't understand, I don't know if you do, but the level of stress that it brings to you when you have that kind of oppression against yourself, or that kind of antagonizing thing just going against you. But I honestly just had to be very true to myself and realize that I love myself more than, any of that. And part of the conversation that I had with my mom was letting her know that my life was moving on. If she wanted to be a part of it, if she wanted to be involved in it, she had to come to terms with it, because this is what was happening, and realizing that I was me and my happiness, and now, the love of this man that I have that's done nothing but be supportive of me meant more than having to find approval from something that goes against who I am, if that makes any kind of sense. That to me was more important, realizing that I was happy, and this person was helping me be happy and be the best person that I can be. And you know what, to be completely honest with you, even before meeting my partner, I was already coming to that mentality of, I just want to be myself and post whatever I want on Facebook without worried about who's going to see it, and go out to whatever club I want and just be who I want to be. And if it doesn't make other people happy, they don't have to be involved in my life,
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to say too. I mean, there's so many people out there who they want that type of life, right? They want to live a genuine, authentic life, but they're afraid of letting people go. And sometimes it's temporary and sometimes it's permanent. But the reality of it is sometimes those are the people that are holding us back from living our best life. And so I think that lesson that you're sharing with everyone will ring true for everyone, but at different parts of their life. Some people it's earlier, some people it's later, and some people it's multiple times throughout their life. So
yeah, I can see that. And you know what? I think the biggest struggle is as humans we want to be accepted, and as humans we want to be just loved, and that's what it is. No matter, I think some people might feel or say that that's not true, that's not what they need in their life, but everybody feels a little warmth in their heart when someone tells you, I'm proud of you, or I'm proud of what you've done or your accomplishments, and it really warms your heart up. And I had gotten to the point where anywhere that I saw parents showing pride in their children, it would just bring me to tears, because I felt that as a gay man, I wasn't living up to the standards that I was raised, and as a previous missionary, I wasn't living to what I was raised to do. And no matter what accomplishments I had gotten, it really just wasn't enough because I felt I'm going against everything that I was taught, and I'm going against everything that I know, and really soaring against the wind, And it was rough. Um, I remember even little things, just like the ending to Mulan, um, where Mulan comes home and her dad like throws her medal and the sword to the side just to hug her and be like, the only gift I need is you as my daughter. Those kind of things, just would make me cry because of the lack that I needed to be accepted, and it wasn't there. It's rough, and I understand it's such a heavy feeling on you and on your shoulders, and trust me, I get it, and it's such a breath of fresh air to not feel that.
All right, so I totally got to tell you, you just ruined Mulan for me because I've never actually watched Mulan. That was a spoiler alert for me.
It came out in 1998, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I'll be honest. I've watched parts of Mulan. So every time I click on it on Netflix, it usually says resume. Never actually watched the whole thing.
Vic, you have to watch it. Oh, man.
He has homework, right?
You do. I just watched Mulan this week. It was great.
Not for the first time, I'm hoping.
No, for like the millionth time. But, oh, God, you have to watch it, Vic.
Yeah, Vic. Well, next time that we chat.
Hopefully that wasn't a spoiler alert for everyone, though. So.
I hope not, but just watch it. It's a beautiful movie. It really is. The music is great. It's catchy. The jokes in there are amazing. I literally have a little Mushu on my dashboard right now.
That's awesome. But once again, I mean, I love what you said there. Like, I mean, we can talk about Mulan probably all day, and I wouldn't really be part of that conversation. But I love what you said because, I mean, as human beings, we do want this level of acceptance, and we do try to make people proud of us. And I can relate with that as well. I mean, I've shared some of my story just recently with a lot of people. And when my father passed away when I was 8, I grew up from that point on trying to seek approval from a lot of people. And so once again, I feel like you're so relatable in these stories, and you're inspiring so many people. I mean, I've been through it myself, and yet I'm walking away feeling inspired just listening to you and the way that you speak about that emotional side. So thank you for sharing that. That's huge.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. Thank you so much for sharing how you wrote your next chapter and, changed who you are into who you really wanted to be and embraced it. I think a lot of people, myself included, can learn from that and kind of reevaluate. Are we doing what's meaningful? Do we have people we really care about in our life? Are we kind of filling our own proverbial cup, so to speak? So thank you so much for that.
I mean, honestly, I am so honored to be a part of this because I think that's how we pass on so many things. Being able to tell our story and storytelling, it's such a big thing. It's, I think, to some extent being forgotten, and I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. It really honors me, and it gives me so much hope, and I really hope that if I can continue to be a part of this because I love what you're doing, but I really hope that anything that I've said can fall into the correct ears and can really just do something for someone. I've had amazing people in my life, and I don't know where I'd be without them. And I really hope that if I shared anything that might help someone, that's all I can really hope for.
Well, I can tell you it's not a hope. It will happen. I can tell you flat out there's going to be people that are going to listen to this. They're going to be inspired. But more importantly, they're going to walk away with this level of self-worth because of you being able to share just tidbits of your story. And I know your story. We can probably talk about your story for hours, which I would love to, right? Like second, third, fourth part of this podcast. But I
mean, I'm totally game, honestly. Both of my parents are very chatty. I'm chatting myself time.
I love the fact that people are going to find self-worth in here. They're going to realize that they're worth so much more with the life that they're currently living and the life that they want to live. And
Right.
once again, like you said, you know, not letting previous past experiences define us, and really allowing our future self to define us. So I love it. Thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Chelsea, and it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. And I really hope there could be like a part 2, 3, or 4, whatever you want from whatever you want. I love it.
We'll definitely have to follow up, but we'll let you get on with your day, Sergio. Thank you so much for taking the time out to hang out with me and Chelsea. And we're excited to see what your next chapter holds too. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. Good things coming your way.
Thank you so much. Have an excellent day, guys.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
All right, goodbye.
Wow, that was definitely an inspirational connection we just had.
Yeah, I really felt inspired by all the things Sergio said and how strong of a person he is.
Isn't it crazy? Like the adversity he went through. I mean, I can't imagine leaving what you know as life and then having to live on a couch, having to struggle about, you know, where money's going to come from. I mean, definitely a strong guy out there.
Yeah, you can tell that he just is really passionate about what he does, and he has so much support now, which is great. And even without that support, he was sticking true to his convictions on who he is, and I think that's really inspiring. I know that some of our podcast listeners maybe have this resonate with them, and for those of you that might need to talk, we do know that there's an LGBT National Youth Talk Line.
Yeah, what is that?
So basically, what the talk line is, it provides telephone, online, private one-to-one chat, and email support as well. It also provides local resources for cities and towns all throughout the U.S. It's free and confidential. If anyone listening just needs someone to talk to, feel free to give them a call. Their number is 1-800-246-7743.
That's a really cool resource to be able to have. And if anyone's out there and they want to share their story with us, or they want to be part of a future podcast, you can definitely email us at yourstory@writeyournextchapter.org.
So Vic, I think that happy hour ends in like half an hour, so I think we gotta go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll record another podcast and see you guys soon.
See ya.